Okay, guys, as you can see, my boat is at the next stage. I have stripped off the top deck, as I said, and one of the reasons was because this hung over a little bit so that on the front and on the back, and there's enough of an overhang lip here that I really didn't want. It's extra weight, all that stuff. I'm trying to keep this as light as possible and keep the weight where I want it. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys for a minute while I'm in the middle of this rebuild is the perfect time because up until now, all I've done is test the hull. I haven't actually, I figured out where my C.O.E was, and believe it or not, that was actually really easy. I did that in my bathtub. I'll explain briefly what C.O.E is. C.O.E is center of inertia. What that means is there is a spot in the boat where when you place a mast, let's say you put your fingertip, what I did was put it in the water and rock the boat back and forth and push it forward and backwards. Pushing it any further up from this point makes the boat tip too easily, and it actually pushes the front end. You can see that. I push hard here, it pushes the front end down. Now, you notice right here, what did that do? Now it's suddenly pushing down the whole boat evenly. As you can see, it really is pushing down the whole boat. Whereas pushing up here, you're just pushing the front down. Pushing too much back here, you're just pushing the back down. No, you want to find that spot where it not only pushes the whole boat down, but is stable. Within that, you want the sail as far forward as possible. So the C.O.E is that forward point. It's usually about 45% from the distance here at the front of the hull, actually, where the hull touches the water, to the rear. This is right around that point. I actually measured out 45%. This was it. Then I tested it in the bathtub and found exactly where I marked was the perfect spot. This is how I know I got my right C.O.E. Now, I want to talk to you for a minute about mounting a mast. A lot of people think that a traditional mast is mounted straight, and if you look at really old boats, they are. However, a push broom works on an angle, and I'm going to show you that right now. If we were to take this, for example, and this as my handle, and I put it straight up against this, and I try to push it. Do it yourself, and you'll see it's very difficult to push that object. And now a bed is similar. It has some wobble, it has resistance, okay, which is at least similar to water. Now, if I put this down here where it's flat, and I push this, dude, I can push this really easily across with one finger. And it's so easy to push, it's not even funny. What I will tell you is a push broom doesn't work like this. It would be really awkward to push the broom. No, it works like this. So what I will tell you is a mast is better off not being actually dead straight. If you really look carefully at a racing mast, most of them are not perfectly straight. And honestly, if they are, that's the bad on the guy's part who designed the boat. He didn't understand physics all that well. My name is Keith Daniel Robinson. I invented the scale equation. I actually have enough patents under my name and 6 degrees to prove the fact that I know physics very, very well compared to most people. One of my degrees is in photonics, one in mathematics. I actually studied a variety of areas of physics. I know what I'm talking about. Mathematically, you can figure out where your C.O.E is. Most people do that. But sometimes the spot you figure out your C.O.E at isn't actually right and isn't actually what I call the point of resonance in the boat, where you can feel the whole boat wiggling under my fingertips here. I did a video where I actually had it in the water and did it that way, and I ended up deleting the video because I made some mistakes audibly while speaking during the course of it, and I find that unacceptable. This has to be good knowledge. I know what I'm talking about, but sometimes when you're doing it on a video, you get a little nervous, and just explaining this, I'm a little nervous because this is something that a lot of people have trouble getting. And so what I will say to you is 2 things. 1, typical mast mounting knowledge says you mount on top of the C.O.E. Okay, that's wrong. If I put my finger on top of the boat and try to push it, it slides. If I put a mount on that, which is what they do, put a mount on and lock the mount in, that's real heavy, but it does the job and it slides. That slide is around the C.O.E, not on it, because you've covered the C.O.E with the mast And now you're not pushing the COE directly. You're forcing the COE to move by pushing around it really hard. That's how traditional masts work. This is my secret. This is what I will say to you. It's not my secret. In fact, it's ancient shipbuilding knowledge. Now, you see the slight angle there? It's very slight, guys. I've built this so good, it's scary. It's to the thousandths of an inch. There's my COE, drilled halfway through the boat, guys. Now, I take that, and I put that in place, and it locks in place. And what do you see? It's very easy to push the boat. Now, the entirety of this pushes, no matter which direction it's being pushed, pushes up against the mast, and the mast pushes directly up against the hull of the boat. That means this works even with the mast bracket not there. You could drill the mast into the center of the COE, put it right to the bottom of the boat, fill it over, and it would be faster than the traditional method because it's locked into the COE and pushing on that point rather than pushing around that point, which a traditional mast actually does. Even though they understand that there's a COE, they understand the mast has to push there on that spot. They're apparently not smart enough to realize that that means it needs to be in that spot, physically connected to it. I've seen a lot of boats where it's just not like that, and that's really unfortunate. I'm not that dumb. I'm not building my boat like that. This is how you build a boat if you want it to be quick. This is how you build a proper race boat. The mast is locked into the COE. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about angle. Go back to my push broom example. Not only is it better to have this in the COE rather than up against it, and with the mount doing actually all the pushing, this actually uses the mount to transfer energy to this mast instead of the mast transferring energy to the mount, which is what happens in normal boats, then the mount pushing the boat forward. This does not happen here. The mast is pushing the boat forward, as it should be, as it's designed to do in the first place, but people don't seem to figure out this is the trick to making the physics of it work really, really well in the water. Now, this is still going to be there. My mount is still there. I have it done so correctly. It's perfect, really. I couldn't have done it any better, no matter how hard I tried. I tried really hard. I really took my time. It was 3 weeks between the time I got the bloody thing and planned out where my COE was going to be to the time I drilled the holes, guy. Because I took my time. I found the right mounting materials. I found the right wood density and all that stuff, so that this piece is actually some ballast in the boat. Now this will actually be turned around backwards, and the reason that this is like this is I'm actually going to trim this off, this leading edge here, and the reason is I want as little weight forward of that COE as I can get. So what I want to do is put this here with as little weight and as little material as I need here. Now, this means it could be much smaller than it is right now. I could actually design this so it's just barely big enough for me to screw into it and lock it in place. And that's basically what I would do, except for the fact that I want this to be bulletproof and handle really high winds. So what you're going to see, all I've done, is I'm going to cut all this off. That's the all excess. And I'm going to leave out this one screw hole. And the way the mast lines up, that's actually perfect because it puts weight where I want it, right about where the pontoon bases are, and in the front of those, that's nice weight to put for stability's sake. Most of my electronics and gear are going to be in the back of the boat, which will help to equalize that. So anyway, I wanted to talk about a few of these points and explain to you why these are important. This is the longest video I've done so far for this, but it's necessary, guys, if I'm going to explain all this to you. Also, the mast is slightly flexible, which actually does help as well, for reasons I will explain in another video. Right now, I just want to cover the ballast part of it, where to put the weight, and really what you want is just behind it. And with the mast, with the COE, traditionally, that's why the keel would be where it is, except for the fact that you also want directional stability in the boat. And for that, the keel, because it's a rudder, is actually better off to be farther back. That's why you don't see the keel directly in line with the mast most of the time. But that has been done, and it can work very well. If you just dial it in right and have a big enough rudder and all that stuff, and it's shaped right and all these things. A boat is a completely engineered package from start to finish, guys. That's all I'm saying. I said in earlier videos that I've looked at every aspect of this. I wasn't lying. I've got this dialed in and figured out, and this is going to be a pretty cool boat design. Keith out.